Joining us right now on the Daily Dose, one of the funnest times of the year that we have, and one of the funnest times for me personally as we do this podcast, because we bring back some friends of the Dose to preview that 2024 NFL season. First up, we have Mike from Castle Rock, who is ready now to be heard again by the Denver Broncos. Mike, welcome back to the Daily Dose.
It's the same optimism every year, right? Although, as a Bronco fan, my optimism has just been for entertainment and not necessarily a winning season. So,
oh no,
this year's looking a little bit better, but always enjoy football. Always enjoy football.
Yes, and after what we've gone through the past few years, to see any glimmer of improvement, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to run with it, and I'm not going to care. Next up, we have our savvy veteran Larry from Centennial, who is taking a break from skiing and all those kind of things. It's summertime now. He's had to endure the summer. Larry, how did you survive the summer without skiing and without football, I might add?
It's never easy. So,
yeah,
I guess mow the lawn, right, is about what we end up doing. Now, long summer, but and it's not over, but really looking forward. I mean, this is the most exciting time of the year, right?
It really is. It is the greatest time of the year by far. Finally, we have Big Rob, our resident West Virginia and Philadelphia Eagles fan. Rob, I might add, is doing like triple duty right now after appearing last week for the college football preview. But Rob, football is back, and it is already amazing, isn't it?
It is. Long time coming. Finally made it through the summer, so I'm locked in for the next however many weeks, Saturdays and Sundays.
Gentlemen, the NFL 2024 season is nearly here. Tomorrow will be the final Thursday night without NFL football. We will have college football going tomorrow night, but it is the final Thursday. We will not have any NFL until like January. And then between the NFL and college football, we will have some sort of football every single weekend until like mid-February. Hey, there are two seasons. No football and football, and the best season is now upon us. Couple of NFL stories that we want to jump into before we get to the season itself. You know, one of the biggest differences this year in the NFL will be seen on the very first play as the NFL has revamped their kickoffs. Now the kicker kicks the ball from their own 35. That's normal. But the kickoff coverage team is at the opposing team's 40-yard line, and the return team can block them from their own 30-yard line. It's weird. It feels a little bit gimmicky and kind of stupid to me, but remember, this is what we have to do for safety. This is a safety measure. Larry, can you please tell us how any of this is any safer? Because I don't see it.
No, I think they should make them wear those funny helmets for sure. Just the kickoff teams, just them.
Agreed. I like that idea.
Make them more special, right?
The big giant,
Yeah, I think the only reason that makes it any safer is there's less contact between those between the blockers. There, the running starts aren't as there's not as much runway. But honestly, I'm not really sure.
Well, I think you're right. I think you bring up a good point. The collision between blockers is less. The collision for the returner, he might die because now he has got full speed and he's getting a head of steam coming, and there's a lot of guys waiting to knock his head off. You know, the NFL could be seeing some history this year. In the Super Bowl era, we have never seen a three-peat champion. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs have won 2 titles in a row, and they look like they have a bona fide shot at breaking this record. Rob, is this a kind of dynasty? Is it good for the NFL to have this dynasty? Is it bad for the NFL? Does it bring more people? Does it bring less?
I would say it's a good thing. I think you bring in those people. I mean, obviously everyone has their team that they like, their fans, but then you bring in that outside fan that just doesn't, the haters that just don't want to see the Chiefs win again, which I include myself in that.
Of course.
But yeah, I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's a good team, so it just gives you an extra something to root against.
I agree with that. And it gives you a reason to tune in either for them or against them. I think it brings, like you said, some people maybe that don't watch. Well, What is Kansas City going to do today? We'll at least tune in for that. Lastly, we could be witnessing a pretty big influx of quarterback talent this year. Right now, it looks like we will have 3 teams starting rookie quarterbacks on day one. The Chicago Bears have Caleb Williams, the Washington Commanders have Jaden Daniels, and the Denver Broncos are going with Bo Nix. Hey, these 3 teams are going to bite the bullet, turn the reins over to these young guys. Mike, is this the right move? Do we want these guys learning on the job, or are they better off, sitting on the shelf for a few weeks?
Well, it should be 4, but McCarthy's out for the year, right? So
Correct. You're right. It also should be 4, but Drake May sucks. But yeah, continue.
Well, the funny thing is a rookie could start over him, right?
Yes, and he's better than him.
So it's to me, it's good, but I can justify it, but it's for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the undeniable talent between Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. Strong arms, off script plays, can run the ball, all that stuff. Bo Nix is completely different. He's starting because he is literally the perfect fit for Sean Payton's offense. And he clearly showed that in the minimal play in preseason. It was all a formality, right? We knew it was going to happen. They're playing the game, hey, there is no starter yet. There is, hasn't been, whatever. We knew that was going to happen when they picked him because he's a perfect Sean Payton system quarterback. I just don't think we knew how well he fit that and how well he played in that system. So it is going to be exciting with so many young quarterbacks playing that, including a couple last year too. So yeah.
Yeah, because there are a couple of second-year guys that are going to come back, and they're going to be in the driver's seat as well. I think the situation with Nix and Williams especially is different because those 2 guys are not your 19-year-old rookies, especially Nix. Nix is a grown man. Nix is 24, 25 years old. He's been playing football for a long time. It's a little bit different. It's not the typical rookie coming out. He played 5 years of college football. He's seen a lot of things. He's been in a lot of offense. And like you said, he seems like a very, very good fit for what Sean Payton wants to do. But Caleb Williams looks similar to me. He's a grown man. He looks like he's making grown man plays. They're going to take their lumps, but I think it's probably best in those 2 situations, especially. Gentlemen, we're going to dive into each division. We're going to look at every single team. We're going to make our picks for who is going to the playoffs, who is going to maybe underachieve, and eventually we're going to get to who is going to be going to Super Bowl 59, but we're going to drill down on each team and take a look at them and kind of look at what they are bringing to the table this year. Do they have enough? Do they not? Let's start off in the AFC East, where last year the Buffalo Bills won the division again, and the Miami Dolphins actually got a wild card berth, while the New York Jets and the New England Patriots both missed the playoffs. So let's get started. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills. Last year they went 11-6. But once again, they were eliminated in the divisional round of the playoffs by the Kansas City Chiefs. After the season, Buffalo let go of wide receiver Stephon Diggs. I mean, he always seems to be unhappy anyways. Maybe that's a good move. The Bills do still have quarterback Josh Allen. They seem to have found a bit of a running game with James Cook. There is talk, though, that now with Diggs leaving, Allen being a little bit older, maybe that Bills championship window might be closing a little bit. But Larry, has the Bills championship window ever really been open?
Well, compared to some seasons, yeah. And I do think it is open. They're one of these teams that it almost feels like they rebuilt without, declaring they're rebuilding. And they've got some talent. They've got a top-notch quarterback. So, and in that division, which I believe they'll still be the better team. I think their window is still open.
I do too. I think they're still in the hunt at least. Can they win the big one? Probably not, but there's a lot of teams I could say that about. Let's kind of go around the horn. Who's got them in the playoffs? I have the Bills as a playoff team. Larry, do you have them as a playoff team?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Rob?
Yep. They're my last team in.
Okay. And what about Mike? Mike, do you have Buffalo getting in?
I have as a wild card, yes.
Okay. Let's move on from Buffalo The Miami Dolphins are up next. The Fins went 11-6 last year. They made the playoffs as a wild card, but they were eliminated by, the Kansas City Chiefs again. The Dolphins, though, have a ton of offensive speed. You've got Tyreek Hill. You've got Jalen Waddle. They did extend that contract of quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Not sure I would have done that. Maybe that's just me, because I don't know if anyone else would have been bidding on him, but what do I know? The concern for me with Miami, of course, is that defense. Christian Wilkins, Xavier Howard are gone. Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, they're coming off of major injuries. Rob, the Dolphins are getting a little bit older. They kind of need to win now. I'll ask the question to you. Can the Dolphins defense limit teams to fewer touchdowns than women who get pregnant by Tyreek Hill?
Gotta be close. Gotta be close.
It'll be tight, isn't it? It's gonna be close. How do you like the Dolphins?
I'm a fan. I've got them as a wild card team as well. I think that offense is going to be good again. It really only shuts down in cold weather. But I think they're going to try, hopefully, to run the ball a little bit more. And you already mentioned the defense is a little weak. They tried to address it. They have some talent there, so I think the defense gets a little bit better. Offense is good enough to keep them in the mix. Not too many cold weather games. So I have them in as a wild card.
Okay. I look at Miami as probably a wild card as well. Mike, you got Miami getting in?
I actually do. I have them as a wild card as well.
Okay, Larry, what about you? How are you looking at Dolphins?
Wild card.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got 4 for 4. Miami moving on to the postseason. They should be pretty darn good. Let's move to the New England Patriots. They're going to look very, very different this year. The Patriots went just 4-13 last year, and they finally pulled the plug on the Bill Belichick era. And by the way, quarterback Mac Jones is gone too. So the Patriots hired former linebacker Gerard Mayo, and then they drafted North Carolina quarterback Drake May to take over. Now, this offense has a lot of holes. We knew that going back to Belichick's time. He missed on a lot of picks. That defense is still talented, but Belichick is gone. Oh, they also traded away Pro Bowl linebacker Matthew Judon. You're going to feel that. You're going to feel that loss of Belichick. You're going to feel some big-time players. Now, Mike, the Patriots went out and they put a lot of stock in Drake May. And Drake May, to me, is a quarterback that rarely makes a memorable play. Like, I don't know if I could name my favorite Drake May play. I couldn't think of one. But when I'm looking at this Patriot team, he should be a pretty good fit with this squad, shouldn't he?
Well, here's a question, just right off the top of your head. Who's he throwing the ball to?
Wes Welker, probably.
Yeah. What is the success of coaches from the Bill Belichick tree?
0.
Thank you. I see that continuing. I think Drake May is going to struggle if and or when
he gets in,
gets the start. He's got nobody to throw it to. Like you mentioned, Belichick has missed offensively horribly. That offense is atrocious. They were the 3rd worst offense in the league last year. And again, good defense, and that's the only thing that keeps them even remotely interesting. But they're a top 5 draft pick next year. I just don't see anything good.
I don't either. I think it's going to be really, really ugly, and it's not a good sign when Mac Jones goes to another team and actually kind of shows okay. So then you go, wait a second, he can still play. It wasn't him. There's a lot of factors there, and I don't know if it's all on Mac Jones. I have the same thing as Mike. I've got the Patriots being a cellar dweller this year. Larry, you got anything different?
No, the price of success is being paid. It always has to be, and they're paying it now. No, they don't make it.
Excellent point. And I'm waiting for Kansas City's. Rob, what about New England? How are you looking at them?
I see it the same. Full rebuild, and they got a tough schedule too. So I'm not expecting anything out of them.
Yeah, that's going to be very, very tough. Let's finish up the AFC East with the New York Jets, who had such high hopes last year. Remember, they were on Hard Knocks. They were looking good. The defense is good. They've got a good young offense they're putting together. Aaron Rodgers is going to be the guy, and then he blew his Achilles about 30 seconds into the season. The Jets went 7-10. Hey, the Jets are one of the most snake-bit franchises in the NFL. But at some point, they've got to break the curse, don't they? They've got to win some games. There's a lot of talent on that team. I am looking at them going, why are they still so bad? Larry, this team has talent. They just need to stay healthy. But I'm wondering, has DMT ever been linked to Achilles injuries?
They do have a lot of talent, and but a lot of it's older talent too.
You're right.
And there's a lot of questions about the coaching staff. 17 game season is a long season.
Yeah.
And Rodgers is an older quarterback, and everybody says Tom Brady did it, Rodgers can do it. I don't necessarily think that's the case. He's got to have an offensive line who's older. I think maybe things look good out of the chute, but I don't have them in the playoffs, and I don't think they can carry a 17 game season with all the questions surrounding them.
See, and I'm right there with you. I've got the Jets as my first team out. I think they make a push for it. I think they're right there. I think they're right in that, we talked about before we started recording, 8 and 9 kind of area. There's too many good teams in the AFC. So I have them just outside. Hey, stay healthy. They might be in the thick of it. Rob, how are you looking at the Jets this year?
I've got them in. I have them staying healthy. I think the defense is still good. Because of that record, they get an easier schedule. So this is actually my division winner, Jets.
Okay. All right. Rob goes Jets getting in. Me and Larry have the Jets out. Mike, how are you looking at the New York Jets this year?
I'm right there with Rob, to be honest with you. Counting on Rodgers to be healthy. I think opposite of Larry, I think they actually struggle out of the gate a little bit while Rodgers gets his, playing ability back.
Gets that Joshua tree out of him. Yeah.
Goes into some more friggin' igloos or whatever it was.
Sure.
I think once he makes that connection, that offense has got some great young talent, and that defense is, if not the best, a top 2 or 3 defense in the league. I've got to win in the division.
Okay. All right. We've got 2 in. We've got 2 out. Going to be very interesting to watch that division. I think it's one of the more competitive ones aside from that one team. Let's move next to the NFC East, where the Dallas Cowboys won this division last year, with the Philadelphia Eagles qualifying as a wild card, but neither team showed well in the playoffs. We'll get to that in just a minute. But this division seems to me like it could be a little bit top heavy. I think those two teams are going to be very good. I think the bottom 2 teams, they've got a little ways to go. But let's start off with those Dallas Cowboys. They won the division last year. They went 12-5. Then they hosted a divisional playoff game and were beaten like a drum by the Green Bay Packers. Well, this is a big year for the Cowboys. Head coach Mike McCarthy is in the last year of his deal, and so are all of his assistant coaches. Running back Tony Pollard is gone. Ezekiel Elliott is back and looking like the before picture in a weight loss ad. Rob, the Dallas Cowboys have not met expectations since like Dr. Dre was keeping their heads ringing. Is this the season they finally turn it around?
It is not. This is the season where it completely falls apart. Tougher schedule, I think, this year. You're losing Dan Quinn is gone. Mike Zimmer comes in, which might be a downgrade.
Could be.
Zimmer, usually think of him as a good DC, but I know his last 2 defenses he was in charge of, I think, were 24th and something else. So that's a little bit of a question. And it's the Cowboys. I mean, they're always right there. So this is actually my first, this is going to be my first team out. They're going to underwhelm a little bit during the season, and everybody's gone next year. McCarthy, Dak, Parsons. It falls apart.
I love it. All right, Larry, you got Dallas getting in. Do you have Dallas not in?
I do have Dallas in. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Wild card.
Okay. I've got the same thing. I've got Dallas getting in as a wild card, and then it'll all explode on them. Mike, how are you seeing Dallas this year?
Yeah, they're taking a step back this year. I do have them as a wild card though, but it's going to be fun to watch the Flames.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's something we can all get behind. Let's move next to the New York Giants, who are coming off of a rough season. They went 6-11 last year, but that doesn't really tell the whole story, because they lost running back Saquon Barkley, lost him to a division rival at that, and they also lost all their confidence in quarterback Daniel Jones and in head coach Brian Daboll. If Jones isn't good again this year, they're in a really bad spot because remember, they've given him quite a bit of money. The problem, he also doesn't have a ton of skills position help. He has Devin Singletary, and now he has rookie Malik Neighbors, but that's it. Mike, the general manager, the head coach, and the starting quarterback are probably all on the hook for their jobs with the New York Giants this year. How early will they all be fired?
This could be a late season firing. Definitely
it could.
on the hot seat. And I'd like to thank you for starting me off with two absolute trash teams to review with the Patriots and the Giants. But yeah,
building. It's building.
Nowhere to go but up from here, right?
Right, right.
I love Malik Neighbors, but good God, is he going to get the ball at all? I just don't. The contract they gave Daniel Jones, I don't get it. Giving, letting Saquon go or, trading. None of this makes sense. This whole organization doesn't make sense to me. Garbage, top 3 to 5 pick again. They had the 4th worst offense in the NFL last year and the 6th worst defense. It's just bad all around. This will be a complete sweep.
Remember when the Giants were that team that they always made the right personnel move. They always seemed to get the right guy. They always seemed to draft well. Those days are over.
They had an incredible defensive line forever. Remember that?
Yep.
Now the whole team is just trash.
Yeah, you're right. Rob, how do you see the Giants this year?
I see it the same. I got them missing the playoffs. I think just because of Daniel Jones and the inconsistency, they'll look good one week, terrible the next. So up and down season, but overall, not good. Not making the playoffs.
Larry, what do you got for the Giants?
Not even sniffing the playoffs. Yeah,
it's gonna be a rough one for them, and that's all right. They can use that a little bit. We reach those Philadelphia Eagles, and we all know this team has talent. I'm not sure if anyone is hitting on the NFL draft and maybe even free agency like Philadelphia is. And yet that collapse we saw last year is flabbergasting the word I'm looking for. That was bizarre. After starting the season 10-1, the Eagles lost 6 of their last 7, including a playoff game against Tampa in which they weren't even competitive. Rob, as a resident Eagles fan, I'm going to come right back to you here. Hey, this team is stacked. But I will say this, quarterback Jalen Hurts took a step backward last year. And head coach Nick Sirianni, I wonder if he lost his locker room down that stretch. Can he rally this team and turn this around, get them to reach their potential? Or is he just a big weirdo like he kind of seems like sometimes?
I'm going to say both. They can rally, and he is a weirdo. Like you said, the talent is there. New coordinators in, which I feel good about. Kellen Moore on the offensive side and Vic Fangio on the defensive side. Plenty of talent. And like I said, this all comes down to Sirianni for me. Like I said, I like the coordinator picks. So I think they'll be fine. So as long as they're winning, we'll be okay. But if they hit any kind of, struggle again or, the same kind of thing starts to happen last season, I think he'll lose the locker room quickly. So hopefully, they get off to a good start and we can roll. But like I said, I'm Sirianni, could be on the hot seat if this starts to fall apart or, it doesn't click.
Wasn't that they lost. It was the way they were losing games that was so shocking to me. I couldn't believe they were going out in games and just not competing. That is a talented team. That really, really surprised me. Larry, I'm looking at Philadelphia as a playoff team. I have them winning this division kind of by default, I guess, in a way. But how do you see the Philadelphia Eagles this year?
Yeah, I kind of the exact same way. I mean, it was just came out of nowhere, the late year performance, but they're still good, really good. And I think they'll win the division. Yeah.
Okay. Mike, you got anything different for Philly?
No, I'm the same. I'm counting on the extreme talent. Picking up a pretty decent running back is helpful as well. I think they may win this division running away.
I think they could too. And we talked about it earlier. If Dallas does go the way that we kind of wonder if they will, Philly could have this division locked up very, very early. They are loaded with talent. It is not a matter of talent. It's going to be a matter of can Sirianni get his guys to buy in. And last year it seemed like he couldn't. not good. Let's finish off this NFC East in Washington, where the Commanders are coming off of 7 straight losing seasons, but they do have a new owner in Josh Harris. They have a new GM in Adam Peters. They have a new head coach in Dan Quinn, and they have a new offensive coordinator in Cliff Kingsbury. They also have a new rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. Now, one big problem for Washington has been their inability to find talent. They've been particularly terrible at the draft. Their draft has been so bad year after year. And when you lose those picks, we talked about the Patriots, when you keep botching these picks, it sets your franchise back for years. Well, Washington's starting to figure things out, but this is all new for them. So, Larry, this year, the Commanders went out in the draft. They're going to set things right. They drafted a 145-pound quarterback that takes big, giant hits from opponents a lot. So Washington has finally figured this draft thing out now, it looks like, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, an exceptional talent, right? And yeah,
Yes.
I think they have figured it out.
I hope so.
Everything is new in Washington. And from the looks of it, right, I think they did a pretty good job. I mean, everything is new. Like you said, GM, coaches.
Yeah.
It feels like they turned the team over. So they're in a great position where, they didn't, Quinn doesn't have to start with somebody really, I mean, somebody else's players. They went out and they needed them, but they got a lot of good players. They've got a great young quarterback. The danger is keeping him healthy and keeping him. We've seen it before with a lot of these young guys who like to run around and they do get hit. So I think they're going to be a good surprise. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they got to learn how to win, just like every other young team has to.
No.
But I think at the end of the season, we'll look at Washington and say that they've turned the corner and they may overachieve a bit.
Okay. Rob, you get to see this team, twice a year. You're familiar with Washington. How are you looking at how Washington is rebuilding this team? They've got a lot of different parts, and maybe this is all just addition by subtraction. But how do you see Washington this year?
Similar to Larry, I think there'll be a little bit of an improvement. Flashy, I see him hanging in some games, but as long as Kingsbury is calling the plays on offense, they're doomed.
Can Jaden Daniels just stay healthy? Can he not have to get scraped off the field with a spatula? Because I saw him take huge hits in college. That NFL does mean not for long if you do that here. Mike, how do you see Washington this year and their young quarterback?
Yeah, kind of the same way, right? I think they're trending up. I think they could get sniff around 500, although 500 doesn't exist anymore in the stupid 17-game schedule. But
true story.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8 wins, and trending upwards, right? Jane Daniel's going to take his lumps, learning and physically, but I don't know. I like him. I think his receivers are going to like him too. So,
well, they have to, and just getting that cloud off of your franchise, redoing everything, restarting. I don't care if you go out this year and you go 3-14, who cares? You're still better off than you were last year. So that has to be a step in the right direction. All right, we finished up with the NFC East. Let's switch over to the AFC North, which last year might have been the most competitive league or division in the league. The Baltimore Ravens won the division. They went to the AFC title game, but both Cleveland and Pittsburgh made the playoffs. They didn't do that well once they got there, but they made it. And only Cincinnati didn't make the postseason from this division. This division is going to be highly competitive. Mike, I gave you some dogs early, but I'm going to give you a good one here, because let's start with those Baltimore Ravens. They went 13-4 last year. They looked absolutely dominant. And then they hosted Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. Okay, they only lost by a touchdown. That game didn't feel like a touchdown. It felt like 3 touchdowns. The Ravens defense held up their end of the bargain, but once again, quarterback Lamar Jackson struggled to make plays in the postseason. Now, Baltimore went out. They added running back Derrick Henry. We know he is really, really tough to tackle. I still worry there aren't quite enough weapons for Lamar Jackson, but it's definitely improving. Mike, this Ravens team has high expectations. think about this. Lamar Jackson is 58-19 as a starter, but he's just 2-4 in the postseason. He has promised he's taking Baltimore back to the Super Bowl. Mike, how will Lamar fail this year?
Probably the same way, maybe a round later, right? I think I agree with basically everything you said. I do like the addition of Derrick Henry, and he doesn't have to be the bell cow, right?
Good point.
The threat of Derrick Henry knocking you silly up the middle, and then the RPO off of that, or Lamar taking it around the corner. I mean, I think the offense got a little bit more dangerous with that, despite not having a lot of offensive weapons to throw to. A healthy Mark Andrews is going to be huge, absolutely huge. And they were last year, they were the #1 team in point differential. The defense, was stellar. It's a new defensive coordinator, so we'll see if he changes things up a bit or if it's more of the same. So that's going to be interesting to watch. But I definitely have them going deep in the playoffs.
I do too. That is a loaded team. My concern for them is their schedule is going to be significantly tougher than it was last year. That will change things, but I've definitely got them. I've got them winning this division. I've got them looking like the big dog or one of the big dogs in the AFC, like Baltimore a lot, but they've got some things they've got to address too. Larry, how are you looking at the Baltimore Ravens?
Promises. I have them in the playoffs. I have them as a wild card.
Okay. All right. You've got them as a wild card team. Rob, what about you? How are you looking at Baltimore this year?
Same here. I have them as a wild card. Little concerned about the schedule and the defense. They lost a lot on defense. So I think the defense might take a slight step back. But I still have them in as a wild card.
Okay. Yeah, they're still going to be tough. And offensively, maybe they can kind of change the way they play. Having Henry back there, we'll see if he can stay healthy, because I don't care who you are. At some age, every running back does eventually break down. The Cincinnati Bengals are coming off of a rough year. Quarterback Joe Burrow had to be sidelined because of a wrist injury. Spin it however you want, but as Burrow goes, so go the Bengals. So when he was out, they didn't have a whole lot of hope. But here's my concern. Cincinnati shut down Joe Burrow after week 11. They were 5-5 at that point. So they weren't playing well with him either. This team has a number of guys that are going to want some big money contracts. They kind of need to go win something this year. Now, they finally did go out and try again to get more offensive line help for Burrow, because he was still sacked 24 times. He didn't even play that much. Rob, it seems like Joe Burrow is the only quarterback in the NFL who can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Do the Bengals have a chance of facing Kansas City in the postseason, or is Burrow going to be broken again before that can happen?
No, this is my division winner. I'm banking on a healthy Burrow, like you said, and we need him to be healthy because he is a Chiefs killer.
Yeah.
And like I said, they tried to address the O-line, and even the beginning of the season, before he went out with the wrist, he came into the season, I think, with a calf strain, so he was kind of shaky. But yeah, I think with a healthy Burrow this year, a weak schedule, I got them winning this division.
Okay. Rob's got Cincinnati as our division winner. I've got him as a wild card. Mike, how do you have Cincinnati looking this year?
Yeah, the combination of a last place schedule and assuming Jamar Chase plays, I got him winning the division as well.
Okay. Larry, how are you looking at the Bengals?
Yeah, I'm with Mike and Rob. I have them winning the division. And I'll always assumes that Burrow's standing up at the end of the year. So
good point. When you're getting hit that often, even if you're healthy and on the field, you're not injured, it just wreaks havoc with everything that you're doing. Like Rob said, he was banged up even before he was actually knocked out. It's just all bad. They've got to keep Burrow healthy. And if they do, I've got them in the postseason. I think they're going to have a kind of bounce back year this year. Last year, the Cleveland Browns made the playoffs. I just want to let that marinate. The Browns made the playoffs, but wait, it gets weirder, because despite paying their quarterback Deshaun Watson $230 million guaranteed, the Browns made the playoffs on the play of his backup, 39-year-old Joe Flacco, who is now gone. So the job goes back to Watson. Now, Watson, he he hasn't looked the same since he came back. He just hasn't. When everything, happened, massage gate, whatever you want to call it, when he came back, he just didn't look like the same guy. He hasn't. I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know if it's, being back. I don't know. But his backup is now Jameis Winston. Now, Watson is under a ton of pressure. He's got to live up to the hype. But it's not just him, because the Browns spent a ton of money this offseason. They kept the roster intact. They bring back most of the team from last year. The expectations are actually high this year in Cleveland. Larry, can you remember, and I don't know, I know you're a shade older than me, but can you remember a Cleveland's Brown franchise not living up to expectations ever?
What? Are you kidding me?
Sounds crazy, doesn't it?
And I got news. They're not making the playoffs this year. And what a fantastic quarterback duo, right? Winston and Watson. We couldn't hope for anything better.
Oh, it's so good.
I don't know what to think about Cleveland. There's so many unknowns, right?
Yep.
Winston hasn't performed and played much, right? Chubb's coming back from an injury,
which is big,
which is huge,
injury,
right? Yeah.
True.
It didn't feel like they made big moves
they kind of kept what they had. That was about it.
Yeah, to get any better. And I'm sure we'll talk. I mean, there's a lot of moves around the league. There always are, but they didn't make any. I guess they felt like they were where they needed to be. I don't think they're where they need to be. I don't have them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't have Cleveland in the playoffs either. One concern that I genuinely have, you've got a team that's a playoff team, and every week I see Jameis Winston out there doing the cheerleading and being the leader of the team. He's not even a starter.
Right.
Where's Deshaun Watson? What is he doing?
It's
so weird
deal with Watson, which will be interesting for us, right? I mean,
sure, I don't care.
Yeah.
My team has its own problems. I don't have to worry about theirs. Mike, how are you looking at the Cleveland Browns this year? Are they're gonna get back in the postseason again?
No, I don't think so. I think a ton of talent around him. Physically, Deshaun Watson is gifted. I just don't think he's mentally strong enough to lead a team, and that's what they need.
Well, and he hasn't looked the same. I don't either. And the interesting thing about that team, they have a talented defense. Why does that defense give up huge play after huge play after huge play? They statistically good defense, except for like 3 plays a game when they give up like an 80-yard pass. I don't get it. It's very strange to me. Rob, Cleveland gonna get back into the postseason back-to-back years?
No, I see it the same as you guys. I think the defense would be decent, but just the offense, I don't trust at all, for various reasons, that you guys mentioned. So yeah, I've got to miss in the playoffs.
Okay. All right. We're going to go 4 for 4 on the Cleveland Browns, taking a step backward. Next up, we have a team. I don't even know what to think. The Pittsburgh Steelers did make the playoffs last year. They had a 10-7 record, but then they made some big moves. They traded away quarterback Kenny Pickett. They brought in quarterback Justin Fields. Okay, Fields is a good, possibly young quarterback. Maybe you can kind of get him going. Then they bring in Russell Wilson. Now, they're not paying either Fields or Wilson very much money. And we know that defense is still okay. They're stout at times. Hey, all head coach Mike Tomlin does is win. Mike, the Steelers are paying their 2 quarterbacks, Fields and Wilson, a combined $4 million. That is a bargain in the NFL these days. But how will those 2 manage to still be a complete ripoff to this organization?
Because they're making $4 million.
Yeah.
I think the streak's over. The streak of Pittsburgh Steelers having a winning season, I think it's over this year. I don't. I know it's only preseason, but how do you get sacked 3 times in one game? The lack of pocket presence with Russell Wilson is astonishing. We've clearly witnessed it here. And as he gets older, his ability to pull plays out of his arse is going down.
Yep.
There's not a lot of depth at wide receiver. Kenny Pickett's pretty good. The running game is decent. The defense is great. In that division, they're missing the playoffs. I don't see them getting to beyond 8 wins.
Yeah, I don't either. And the worst part, if you're Pittsburgh, is going out there and going, I can't really tell the difference between Justin Fields and Russell Wilson right now. I mean, I know for me personally, Russell Wilson has PTSD. The Seattle Seahawks broke him. And last year you saw a flash of maybe him getting better. Honestly, he probably should have spent the offseason with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he could have got, over some of that. But he looks like a broken quarterback that he hears ghosts. He has no presence in the pocket, like you say. He can't make the big play like he used to be able to. I don't know how this ends well. This just seems like a really, really bad situation. Best situation to me for Pittsburgh would bench Wilson and just go with Fields and take your lumps. I don't know. Rob, how do you see the Pittsburgh Steelers this year?
I see it the same. I've got them missing the playoffs. To me, the problem last year was QB play, and they didn't address that or didn't fix it. They addressed it, but I don't think they fixed it. So I think the Tomlin streak stays intact. I've got them at 9-8, but that's not good enough to make it. So I got them missing the playoffs.
Yeah, the AFC is just very, very stacked. Larry, what do you have for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year and your buddy Russell Wilson?
Well, all Tomlin does is win, but just enough, right? He hasn't won anything of real value for a while. It's kind of come crashing down. They made a situation where where they didn't have to. They've got they've got two quarterbacks that they're gonna have to week over week decide which is the better option, and it's gonna fail completely. So good luck to the Pittsburgh fans.
Well, and I know as a Bronco fan, nothing made me feel better about Sean Payton and the job he's doing than to see what Russell Wilson is doing in Pittsburgh. As bad as that sounds, I'm not rooting against Russ. I don't have any issues with him. Does he have a touch of autism? Yeah, he does. He says weird things, but I don't have any problem with the guy. I just think he has PTSD. I don't think he's capable of being a big time quarterback. He was probably in the best situation he could have been last year with Sean Payton, and he couldn't make that work. So that tells me a lot. Yeah, I think Pittsburgh is going to be in a little bit of trouble. All right, fellas, we've got one more division to get to this week, and then I'm gonna have to bring you back for one more week because the NFL, there's too much going on. We've got a lot of things we've got to touch on. But let's finish off this week with the NFC North. Honestly, it could be, I don't know if it'd be the best, but it could be the most interesting division to watch this year. Last year, the Detroit Lions actually won the division. And then the Green Bay Packers, who no one expected anything of, they make the postseason as a wild card. And both these teams were highly dangerous in the playoffs. This year, the Chicago Bears have really improved. The Minnesota Vikings also have a team. So let's see how this goes. Let's start off with the Chicago Bears. They are showing some signs of life. Last year, they had Justin Fields. They went 7-10. They were scrappy, but then the Bears shipped out Fields. They drafted Caleb Williams out of USC. They also get Rome Odunze, who I think that's a big piece too. They signed running back DeAndre Swift. They brought in Keenan Allen. He pairs with DJ Moore. Hey, Caleb Williams suddenly has receivers. He suddenly has some offensive, skills around him. I don't place a lot on the preseason. I certainly don't place anything on Hard Knocks, but this team, it looks kind of functional. Rob, the Chicago Bears franchise can't have good quarterbacks. It would be an abomination. How will this franchise ruin Caleb Williams?
I think it turns around here. I'm buying in on Caleb Williams. Like you said, all the players you mentioned. I also got Montez Sweat last season, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. So even though he is a rookie, he's got talent around him. I think this defense is going to be pretty good as well. They got a bottom 5 schedule. So yeah, I'm buying in. I've got the Bears as a wild card. This was actually my last team in. It came down to them and the Cowboys, and I got the Bears sneaking in.
I love it. I had the Bears in, and I'm going to be very transparent. I couldn't do it. I bumped them out. They were my first team out. I took them back out. I had them in. Nope. I ran a pen through it and said, never mind. But I have them close. Hey, they got to be better. Caleb Williams, like him, not like him, a little too much time, at the manicure. Yeah, but kid can play, and his improvisation skills are really, really impressive. Larry, what do you have for the Chicago Bears this year?
Yeah, I don't have him in. I'm excited for him. I think
Sure.
Caleb Williams is going to be awesome. I think it'd be great to have, an actual quarterback in Chicago.
Never had it before.
Right, right. But I do think there's like he's going to be like trying to lead. Well, he is going to be leading the team, and he's going to make a lot of mistakes. So I think throughout the season, those they add up enough to kind of keep him out of it. But who would have thought, right? Like the NFC overall feels like it's changed. Like we're talking about the teams rising as opposed to
Yeah.
how bad, just have those few at the top. And I think Chicago is rising, but I don't think they're going to be in the playoffs.
Okay. Okay. I've got him about the same spot that you do. I'll say this, and I do watch Hard Knocks because I'm a glutton for punishment. I'll say this, Matt Eberflus, whatever his name is. I worry about the body language that I see from Caleb Williams when he deals with his head coach, because Eberflus is talking and he's explaining the quarterback position, and I see Caleb doing a lot of this. Like, what's this idiot gonna tell me? Do you know who I've been getting things from?
I think we're still amazed that he is still the head coach, right? After last year. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, hey, they beefed up this team, though. There's no question about that. They brought in some talent. Mike, how are you looking at the Chicago Bears this year? They're going to be a playoff team?
On the surface, this almost screams the 2023 Houston Texans, right? Rookie quarterback coming in, ton of wide receiver talent around him.
Good call.
I don't think it's quite that dramatic, though. And I think one of the things, and again, the jury's still out on him, but is the coach. I don't know if he's got that, because, oh my God, Houston's coach came in and he had that team focused instantly. And I don't see that with Chicago. So I've got him a big improvement, but hovering around 500. I don't have him in the playoffs.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're very, very similar. Like I said, I did have them in. I bumped them just out, but I think they're on the rise. And hey, like any team, stay healthy, good things could happen. The Detroit Lions are actually being looked at as a title contender. I know that sounds insane, but it's absolutely true. The Lions went 12-5 last year. They won 2 playoff games. They nearly pulled off the unthinkable. They almost beat San Francisco to go to the Super Bowl. Well, they're back, and they bring pretty much everybody back. And this is a tough physical team. Hey, the Lions are real. They're talented. They're tough. And I'll say this, for the most part, the Detroit Lions don't beat themselves. Not a lot of turnovers, not a lot of penalties. They're a very disciplined team. Larry, will head coach Dan Campbell stop beating his own team this year by going for it on 4th and stupid every single time?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
If you get out of the way and let the team do what they can do, I think he's going to learn too, right? Like just like anybody else. I certainly hope so, because I think it would be a shame. I do think they're going to win their division. They didn't lose anything really, like you mentioned, and they're the picture of like season over season consistency. So if you bring back the band, man, they're gonna they should be good. They will be good. I have them going as deep as it gets. So yeah, I'm a Detroit. I'm buying.
Okay. Hey, I'm right there with you. I've got Detroit winning this division. I think they're going to be loaded. I think they learn a little bit from last year. Maybe they improve a little bit. Maybe Dan Campbell stops being an idiot. I rewatched that game. It was like on NFL Network or whatever, and I just kept. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mike, how do you have Detroit doing this year?
I was on their bandwagon last year, and I'm not jumping off.
Sure.
I like them. I love the offense. Great talent on the offense.
Yeah.
Again, despite the stupid calls, this team is well coached.
Very well. Just stop doing that.
I love the team. I love the coach. Division winner, hands down.
Okay. Rob, how do you have the Detroit Lions finishing up?
Yeah, same here. Division winner. I like Dan Campbell. I think he gets a little bit better, and I think the defense gets a little bit better.
Good
The
call.
offense is still going to carry him, but I think that defense gets him a little better, so that keeps him up at the top. So division winner for me.
2 years ago, it was all offense. Last year, it was mostly offense. This year, if you just got a little bit from your defense, you're going to be right there. Title contender, it sounds insane. The world might end, but yeah, Detroit is a title contender. We move next to the Green Bay Packers, who are also really dangerous and really dangerous in the playoffs last year. The Packers started slow. They went just 2-5 to start the season. And they kind of figured some things out. Jordan Love started to come into his own. The Packers closed out the season. They won 6 of their final 8 games. They smoked the Cowboys on the road. And don't forget, they almost beat San Francisco too. The Green Bay Packers are also one of the youngest teams in the NFL. Hey, they could be building something here. Now they also added running back Josh Jacobs. That should help that offense be even a little bit better. Mike, last year, nothing was expected from this team. That won't be the case this year. Will the Packers slide back a little bit, or can they make former Packer Devontae Adams look a little bit more stupid this year for leaving for Vegas?
Well, hopefully that part, yeah, right. I think they improve over last year. Like you mentioned, that the youth on this team is unbelievable,
yeah.
especially on offense. I mean, with their top 4 wide receivers are average age 24 or something like that. It's ridiculous. And all of them are extremely talented. So it just clicked for Jordan Love in the last half of the season, didn't it? A year ago right now, if you'd have said, hey, Packers signed Jordan Love for a contract at the end of the year, guess how much? You would never, not even come close to it. So I think they're trending up. I think they improve over last year's record, but not enough to overtake Detroit for the division, but a solid wild card.
Okay. Bells, I'm gonna go the opposite direction. I think the Packers slide. I think nothing was expected of them. I think this year they have a target on them, and I don't think that bodes well for a young team. I think they take a few lumps this year, scheduled a little tougher this year, and I have the Packers just missing the playoffs. I know maybe that's not a wise choice, but I've got the Packers taking a step back this year. Rob, what do you have for the Green Bay Packers this year?
I like the offense. Like Mike said, I am a little worried about the defense.
Yeah.
I agree with you that they will take a slight step back. But because it's the NFC, I still have them making the playoffs. So I have them in as a wild card.
That's fair. Yeah, they could still get in. Shoot, in the NFC, it's not quite as stacked just yet as the AFC. So maybe there's still, some cushion there for them to take a step back and still get in. Larry, what do you have for the Green Bay Packers this year?
Yeah, I got them in as a wild card, but I am a little like you. If there's a team that looks like they might slide the other way, I could see Green Bay doing that. And because they are young, they got some tough games to go against. That's always a tough division. They play tough within that division. So, but I do have them in the playoffs as a wild card.
Expectations are such a weird thing. And I think back to when when I was coaching and we look at a team and, hey, we're supposed to lose this game. We go out and we win. Hey, everybody's, patting us on the back and you guys are wonderful. We go in the next year. Now we're the favorites. And hey, you guys are expected to beat this team tonight. What if we don't? And it can snowball. It can get away from you. It gets a little bit scary. Yeah. Young teams, I don't know. Okay, let's finish this up. We're going to finish up the NFC North and our first half of this NFL preview this week. We're going to finish up with the Minnesota Vikings. Hey, we knew the Vikings were going to have to rebuild at some point. Well, it is now fully underway. They went just 7-10 last year. They missed the postseason. Well, gone is Kirk Cousins. And that aging roster is starting to kind of be shuffled. They're starting to move some guys on. Minnesota went out. They drafted Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy to take over. Hey, you need a big-time quarterback. When you got receivers like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, you need a big-time gunslinger, right? So McCarthy blew his meniscus, and now they'll turn the reins over to backup Sam Darnold. Rob, this feels a little bit like turning your keys to your new sports car over to the Georgia Bulldogs. It might sustain some damage. How do you see the Minnesota Vikings doing this year?
Yeah, I think they're going to struggle. They have the offensive weapons, like you said, but not a quarterback that can consistently get them the ball. Plus, I have some questions about the defense too. So I've got them in entertaining. I got them in a couple on the wrong side of a couple shootouts, but I'm not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. And also, he's a young guy. At what point is Justin Jefferson just going, oh, I gotta get out of here? This is not helping my career. He is a big time talent. Got banged up a lot last year. I don't know. It just makes me nervous. Larry, how are you looking at Minnesota this year?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's tough, and not that McCarthy was going to save the day or anything, being a rookie, but tough to see him go out. I don't have him in the playoffs. Of course, I think that the clock's ticking on, Jefferson, as it always is with receivers wanting out, right? They always,
Sure.
I don't know a receiver who hasn't wanted out of.
Pastures are always greener. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, tough, one of the tougher divisions. So no, I don't see them in the playoffs.
All right, Mike, it's up to you. Minnesota, they're gonna get it. Maybe I should ask this: if they kept JJ McCarthy, would they have got in? But without him, are they getting in with the backup? Going to Sam Darnold.
With him, no. Without him, no.
See,
I just don't think there's enough to get them into the top 7 teams in the NFC this year. So I just don't. I don't see it happening. And the funny thing is who knows the unknown at quarterback right now, right? Is it did San Francisco really rehab him? I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fair.
It's possible. But even if so, I just don't see it happening enough to get them over the hump. So no, I don't have them in the playoffs either.
Okay, so we have broken down so far the first half of the NFL. So far, and you guys can take a look at your notes or whatever, but right now, coming out of the AFC East, I've got Buffalo and I've got Miami. Out of the North, I've got Cincinnati and I've got Baltimore. Over in the NFC East, I have Philly and I have Dallas. And then in the NFC North, I've got Detroit as my only team getting in out of that division. So right now I've got 7 teams getting in. Mike, how's your playoff picture looking so far just in the first half?
Yeah. East, I've got the Jets, Buffalo, and Miami.
You've got 3 teams coming out of AFC East. Okay.
Yep. Philly and Dallas. Philly winning the division.
Okay.
Cincy and Baltimore. I think we're all in agreement on that one. Cincy winning the division, and then Detroit and Green Bay. So that's where I'm at so far with what we've previewed.
Okay, Rob, what do you have so far playoff picture?
AFC East, I have the Jets winning the division. Buffalo and the Dolphins get in as a wild card. Okay. NFC East, Eagles win the division, and that's it.
Yep.
AFC North, Bengals win the division and Ravens as a wild card. And NFC North, Lions division and both the Packers and the Bears.
And the Bears.
Wild cards. Yeah.
Riding with the Bears. I love it. All right, Larry, what do you have as your playoff picture thus far at the halfway point?
Okay, I've got Buffalo winning the division, and Miami in with the wild card.
Okay.
Cincy winning the division, Baltimore wild card.
Okay.
AFC. NFC, Philly winning the division, Dallas wild card, Detroit winning the division, and Green Bay wild card.
Okay. Hey, the NFL, the preview is just too big. We can't cover it in 1 week. We just can't. There's too much to get to. So I'm really hoping that these 3 members of our panel are going to be able to join us again next week to finish out the other half of this league and make our playoff picks and our predictions for Super Bowl 59. Closing thoughts. Mike, what do you have for us as we finish up this first week of the NFL preview?
Just can't wait to get it going, right? I mean, it's the NFL to me personally is the only major league that I'll watch any game at any time.
You're right.
Save the stupid Peacock streaming app nonsense or whatever that
Correct.
garbage that's going on. But I love NFL football. I just cannot wait. Everybody's season is new. The slate is clean everywhere. It's just my favorite time of year.
I agree 100%. Rob, what do you have for us closing thoughts on week 1 of the NFL preview?
I'll echo the same. I'm ready for it to start. Fantasy teams have been drafted, and like I said, I can't wait.
It just gets no better. It's like Christmas right now. I just love it. Larry, what do you have for us as we finish out our week 1 of the NFL preview?
Yeah, apologies to Mike. I will not be watching any Carolina games. So, but other than that,
That's fair.
no. I mean,
Who are they playing though?
Well, maybe, yeah. Yeah, and now we have to wait like this, before the whole holiday weekend, right? When we get all the preseason games done and we're all excited, and then we get to kind of get ready for it, I guess. But no, great time of year. Glad to be here and talk football. It's awesome.
Well, and we do have a jam-packed weekend of college football this coming weekend. I mean, starting on Thursday, we have got some top 10 kind of matchups. We have got some big dogs squaring off, and we even have college football on Sunday and on Monday this week. So, hey, enjoy the little lull before the wild and crazy storm. But the NFL is coming, and it just doesn't get any better. It feels like you're a little kid on Christmas. Can't wait to tear into these presents and realize that I got, an Army Pete instead of a GI Joe when I see my Broncos. But that's enough. We're not going to worry about that. All right, fellas, we're going to run this back next week, and we are going to finish off this NFL preview and get down to the bottom of who's going to win Super Bowl 59. We are going to break that down next week. So looking forward to having you guys back then.